Each and every Monday is $9 Monday at WagerTalk.com, and all daily picks packages are priced at only $9, including 5% best bets normally priced at $35. As an added bonus, any picks packages loaded early for Overnight Tuesday or action during the week will also be priced at $9 until midnight on Monday. So make sure to take advantage of getting these $25 and $35 picks for only $9 before the clock strikes 12 and they return to regular price.
Happy Monday, guys. Welcome into Wager Talk TV. We are back. I'm Andrew McInnis. I have Carmine Bianco with me. Just the two of us here on today's show. Some entertaining games on the weekend in the NHL. Some great slates, if I do say so. But yesterday, obviously, just the one game, though. Vancouver defeats Washington plus 150 underdogs. But today, Carmine, we've got some afternoon games, some late night games, and everything else really in between that. And 4 games to discuss today here on our show with Minnesota and Colorado, the Canadiens and the Coyotes. It's going to be tough for me to break that one down. The Predators and the Blues, and last but certainly not least, the headliner of Monday night, the Pittsburgh Penguins and the Vegas Golden Knights. Carm, you're on a roll right now. You're heating up, or I shouldn't even say you're heating up. You're just red hot right now in the NHL, man, off a great weekend. What's going on?
Yeah, it was definitely a good weekend for me. I think on Friday I said it was probably a good idea because I was going to have a busy and more plays than normal weekend to get that 3-day Wager Talk special. And 23, 9, and 1 on the weekend, 33, almost 34% bankroll gain, 72%, including that 5% winner on the Oilers, and Ottawa going over the total on Saturday. So I was pretty happy about that. And then even for the guys in the chat, the 6 and 60 segment, 5 and 1 on the weekend. So if you took advantage of those plays on Saturday in the 6 and 60, you had a winning day. So looking forward to it. My favorite segment, and we'll have a new segment coming to you guys in the next week or so from Andrew McInnis. So you guys got to look forward to that one. But yeah, it was a good day. Good week. I'm looking forward to it. A lot of games this weekend or this week coming up. 4 games today, guys. We're going to discuss a couple early ones for you guys who are home stuck in the snowstorm and a couple late ones. So you got a lot of betting available to you on MLK Day today, Andrew.
Yeah, so it's great to have some afternoon games. Also, looking at Minnesota and Colorado, so many different games to break down. And obviously, I just want to say real quick, we are obviously on a sports betting show and a hockey show. We're excited. There are some afternoon games, but we need to recognize the holiday, Martin Luther King Day, for everything he did for justice and society. So I just wanted to mention that very quickly. It is also a day for us to be able to watch sports in the afternoon, but there's a reason behind this holiday. And I just wanted to announce, Martin Luther King Day. So our first game today, Carmine, we have Minnesota and Colorado. And Colorado minus 235 at home. Minnesota's plus 190. Total 6.5 in this game. And actually, every single total today is 5.5, except for this game with a 6.5 total. Minnesota's won 3 straight games here, coming off a 7-goal performance. But this Colorado team just continues to score, Carm. It's just, I feel like a broken record. The only time they don't go over a total is if the other team doesn't do their part. They're just constantly scoring goals. Their entire lineup is creating. What are your thoughts here on this matchup? Obviously a key matchup, 2 talented teams, but I know you don't love these high prices. Could any part of you take the dog here?
No part of me can take the dog, and it's not because I don't like Minnesota. It's just because Colorado is just playing lights out hockey. 12-1-2 their last 15 overall, 14-0-1 their last 15 at home, and they've won 4 straight at home against this Minnesota team. So while the Wild are a very good team, I just can't see how. It's one streak I don't want to step in front of. And a couple of times this year with the Dallas Stars at home, I've stepped in front of teams coming in on big win streaks and won those games, getting some plus money. But better. You mentioned that 7-3 against Anaheim, but that's some regression with this Ducks team as well too. And after like a 5-game losing streak where they looked bad in losing those 5 games, Minnesota's put together, a 3-game win streak. And, I've always said, Andrew, when you get that first win, you've got to come right back with that team. If they're a good team, and take them again. And they beat the Bruins, and then they come home and they beat the Washington Capitals. So those were 2 very good games and wins against 2 teams that are playing extremely well. The difference is that Colorado's a much better team to me than the Boston Bruins are at home. They're a much better team than the Washington Capitals are when they're on the road as well too. So while that 7-3 win was impressive, but it was against Anaheim, I'm looking at the other 2 games, and those were equally as good, if not better, games for them. So can they go in there and beat Colorado? Of course they can. Am I going to put money on that to happen? No. So I'm going to look at the total, 6.5. You've got to lay juice. Very rarely this year have we seen a total that's not only 6.5, but is minus 130-ish on the over. And normally when you see that minus 130, minus 135, it becomes a 7 with plus money. Is that going to happen here? It's an early afternoon game. Who knows? People are looking at this game. It's a 3:00 game, and they're looking for some afternoon action. You might get those guys who are just, let's bet the over, let's bet the over. This is one of those in-game wagers, Andrew, where if you don't get a goal within the first 3-4 minutes of the game, that 6.5 becomes a 6 and then becomes a wager on the over. The half goal is really important here. I would rather lay 6 than 6.5 as far as a total goes. So while it sounds like I'm passing on the game, I'm not. I'm going to in-game wager this one. Hope for the first few minutes of the game to be scoreless, and then take the 6 and the over 6 and lay a little bit of juice.
I would agree with that. And, I've obviously talked so much about this Colorado team and how many goals they're putting up, but to recognize the earlier start, I think is important for us to mention here and kind of put some emphasis on it, because some teams this might affect differently than others. And obviously with a talented team that both these guys have, we know they're capable of scoring goals. The question is, how long will it take for that cohesion and chemistry to click in? Maybe it takes a few minutes. Maybe it takes 5 or 6 minutes, Carm. Maybe we can even get that to 6, like you said. If there's a potential for us to get it to 5.5, I'm not so sure. But getting that even to 6 at that total would be really nice. I wanted to mention, Carm, I've talked about, you can look down the roster for these player props, and I discussed Nazem Kadri to score a goal at a pretty good price on Friday. Of course, he scores the shootout winner, but couldn't bury one in regulation. But Nathan McInnis, so we used to always see 2.5s as the player shot totals. It was pretty much that was the most common total set for these player totals for shots. Look across the board, Kirill Kaprizov, he's got 3.5. Zuccarello has 2.5. Nathan McInnis has a 4.5 total next to his name, Carm, for shots on goal. If you take a look at the last several games here for Nathan McInnis, we see 5, 7, 6, 7, 12, and 8 shots, which is very irregular, very unnatural. And I get it. Some of the games were, twice against Arizona, once against Seattle here. But when a player's rolling, they're rolling. And I don't really want to get in front of it. And the cool thing about these shots on goal props, if you're interested in a total, technically that means you think it's going to be a higher scoring game with lots of action. You never would take an over if you think it's not going to be that many shots on goal. So would you ever say, Carm, sometimes if you see a 6.5, you might not want to play that number to explore the player props, because it, will give you a better avenue without having to worry about the 6.5. You can cash some player props. Maybe one team wins 4-2. And you don't get over that 6.5, but you still cash these player props.
Yeah, it's my theory, Andrew, and you do a lot more player props than I do. My theory is you want to be getting most of the time plus money on these props, or laying very minimal juice. The shot props are different than goal props. Laying juice on goal props is so much tougher, and that's why when I got into a discussion with Prez, I just asked what his opinion was on the Austin Matthews scoring in Arizona in front of his family, who he grew up in Scottsdale, Arizona. So it was just an idea. I didn't say I love this prop, go out and take it. And then he ends up scoring, I think, the only goal in that loss to Arizona in that game. So I had to tweet out to Prez on that one. But I'm more on the the power play props because you're getting plus money on them because there's fewer power plays, obviously, so there's fewer opportunities to get the points. But I'm going with teams that are playing teams who are 1 to 5 as far as penalties drawn or penalties taken in games, where a team like Tampa is going to get a lot of power plays. A team like Washington is going to get a lot of power plays. You can find guys on that number one line, and it doesn't have to be a guy named Ovechkin that is going to be plus money to get you points on a power play. And you look at the teams, the teams that are ranked 1 to 5 in power plays, and look at their players. So if you're finding plus money, and again, I always harp on last year's playoffs with Tampa Bay. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. They were money as far as power plays go. You find something. Sometimes you find something and you go with it. It goes back to our good friend Alex B. Smith, with talking about the Chicago first period overs. The 1.5s were hitting at a phenomenal rate. And then the books finally caught up and we saw minus 160s, 170s, 180s. Case in point to this Colorado Minnesota game. I loved the over 1.5. Remember, I talked to you about this yesterday. It's a 2. It's going to be a 2 plus money. So you could possibly lean on Colorado. I laid as a client play last week, Colorado over 2 in the Arizona game. And I think it was 3 goals in that first period. And it was over 2 plus money. So I'm perfectly fine with pushing a total, and but not laying juice on these big ones. I'm not going to lay minus 180 on a 1.5 over first period. You're just throwing money away if you're doing that. It's bad bankroll management.
Well, that would just be the worst feeling in the world to see a 1-0 finish of the period, and then 3 minutes in to the second period, there's like 3 goals. I wouldn't be able to live with myself, And Carm, it's been really rough, ever since those streaks with the Lightning and Blackhawks and Rangers were happening with the first period overs or even the unders for the Rangers. This became such a common thing now. We're starting to see the odds are just, like you said, minus 150 sometimes, minus 180. Now we're seeing it 2. But in general, guys, for this game, I'm right there with Carm. I think we will see some goals. I think it could be a good in-game betting opportunity. I just don't like the price. I think that looking at team total over for Colorado, the way they're scoring right now, the way they're playing, the amount of depth they're showing right now, when it's not even just Nathan McKinnon, not even just Mikko Rantanen, there's so many guys, competing and getting things done for that team. So team total over would be a good option for me as well. But plenty more games to get to, Carm. And this next one, I'm excited for it. I'm also a little bit nervous for it because, well, let's just talk about it. The Montreal Canadiens, the Arizona Coyotes. Well, it was a pick 'em price overnight, and now Arizona are minus 120 favorites against the Montreal Canadiens. Montreal's plus 100. Totals at 5.5 in this game. Montreal 7-24-5 on the season. Arizona 8-24-4 on the season. And look, Arizona coming off those back-to-back games against the Colorado Avalanche, Carm, and Montreal. Well, it hasn't been pretty for them. They're giving up goals, and more goals in every single game they play in. No matter how many guys they get back, as far as, the guys that were injured or COVID protocol, their defense has not been strong. Goaltending has not been strong. What are your thoughts here on this game? I also think it's important to take into account Arizona playing really well against Colorado back-to-back games. Is it a letdown for them, or is it a confidence booster?
There's got to be guys in the chat right now who are saying, why would you guys want to discuss Montreal and Arizona? But we wanted to give you a couple early ones, and that wasn't to the Buffalo Sabres and the Detroit Red Wings. And I thought odds-wise, there's so many games that are even, minus 110 either way, and this was sort of one of them. We're discussing 2 teams who are combined 8-37 over their last 25 games. Montreal's 4-21. The Coyotes are 4-16. And, with Jake Allen having gotten injured in that game, you're going to get Samuel Montembeault in net for Montreal. But, here's the funny thing, Andrew. I actually think Montreal does have a chance to win this game. Am I going to get to the window on them? Absolutely not. Am I going to get to the window on Arizona? Absolutely not. I'll probably look at the total here because I think we see some goals in this afternoon tilt. It just feels like one of those games where we're going to see some goals in this game. Montreal is listen, their season's done. We all know that. Just play for that final spot, tank it, whatever you want to call this game. The Tank Wars, I think I saw someone write on Twitter. It's just two teams that aren't going anywhere and don't have much prospect long term. Montreal's going to get healthy at some point. Toffoli, Andrew, we discussed this on the weekend. Toffoli's almost ready to come back. He's back on the ice. He's practicing, albeit in the red jersey. He'll probably play next Monday, get some more practice in. And then it's Arizona. This team is absolutely stacked with number 1 and number 2 picks, first round and second round picks. So they've got a team for the future. They don't have a team right now. This is just one of those games, Andrew, that I just see pond hockey between two very bad teams, and I see goals. And the total's at 5.5. And it should be 5.5. It shouldn't be 6, but I'm going over the total in this one.
I'd have to agree with you. When I look at both these teams, the amount of chances they give up, the amount of odd man rushes they give up, it's hard to look towards an under when these two teams are on the ice. And, that game against Colorado, we were talking about it prior to this show off air and discussing that first game against Colorado when it was 4-3, where Colorado ended up winning that game in overtime, or actually, a shootout, where that game was a sweat from start to finish. And to see Arizona be able to put up a couple goals, not even just like one goal and it go to overtime or something like that, for them to be able to put up a couple goals is impressive. But we talk about the expected goals on this show, and I've had a few people reach out to me through DMs and ask about where we can find those. You can check moneypuck.com, Natural Stat Trick. You can check so many different websites, NHL hockey data, all those different websites. The expected goals, Carm, were absolutely ridiculous the last 2 games against for the Arizona Coyotes. And I get it. It was the Colorado Avalanche. But my question really is, how can we take it seriously when they've played Toronto, Colorado, and then Colorado again? I mean, I always, these typical handicapper terms, let down and sandwich spot and all this stuff, those can be applicable in some spots. In some spots, they just completely are useless. But when you've got an Arizona team that I think should be feeling pretty good about themselves, even though they just lost the last one 5-0, they competed against in 3 straight games against 2 of the best teams in the entire National Hockey League. But in those games, they give up so many chances. And let's not forget the Montreal Canadiens, have competed against teams like Tampa Bay and all the top teams as well. And then they've just blown leads. So I think the over is the best play here. I probably would never want to tell anybody I'm putting money on the Coyotes as a favorite. And I'm not sure if you'd agree with that, but I wouldn't want to put minus 120 for the Coyotes against Prez's hockey team. So I'm not going to look towards them. Minus 120 against another team in the National Hockey League. Over 5.5 is the play. I'm right there with you, Carm.
Yeah, and you look at it, and you mentioned it's a good point. Who Arizona has played, and now it's a drop off. There's no letdown. There's no letdown when you're struggling to win games like Arizona is. But then they get a team like Montreal, or you look at their last 15 games on the road, they've allowed 3 or more goals in every single game, and I believe in 11 of those games, they've allowed 4 or more goals in those games, and there's a lot of 5s and 6s there as well too. So you got a team coming in who COVID issues, injured players, a backup or Montembeault is essentially, because he is a backup goalie, but he would have been their e-bug goalie if Price was actually playing this season and Jake Allen was backing up. So it's just a spot where I just don't see how Montreal rises to the occasion and plays a 2-1 game to beat Arizona in a shootout. I think that's a pipe dream. Could it happen? I could win the lottery one day, but I'm not putting money on it happening today. So I'm going to go for the over in this one. Hope that the early start in Arizona has everyone a little sleepy, at least defensively, and we see some pond hockey today.
Yeah, I'm on the over with you, and I'm still not quite there with Montreal, but I think I might go in with a small wager just because of the price here with them. I think if there's a spot for them to show up and think they could win the game, I think this has to be it here. And Arizona off those couple of really big games there. Also, look, Montembeault, he is the third stringer, like you said, but he's been getting lit up by the media and betters. But let's be honest, it's not really his fault. It's just the defense and the forwards not back checking. This guy, like you said, was supposed to be the third string goalie, up in the rafters or playing in the AHL. He wasn't supposed to log this many minutes at all this year.
Yeah,
Price hasn't come back, and then we have Jake Allen. I mean, I tip my hat to Samuel Montembeault because it's not really easy to be a third stringer coming up and then playing on a team that has 7 wins.
yeah, no, listen, I agree with you wholeheartedly on that. I don't want to jump on the goalies because it's the team in front of you. When a team plays bad defensively, and this isn't my anti-Leaf sentiment here, but you look at a goalie who played way too many minutes for the Leafs in Freddie Anderson, and towards the end of his career with the Leafs before leaving for Carolina, he was getting lit up. They pulled him in like 3 of 5 games, I believe. It was a guy who played too many minutes for a team who wasn't playing very well defensively in front of them. And the Leafs are a much better defensive team now. Campbell's very good for them. But look at what Freddie Anderson is doing in Carolina with a team that forechecks, back checks, plays defense. The guy is having an absolute career year. So it's not that he suddenly found how to be a goalie. It's that it's the team in front of you, and when the team in front of you doesn't perform, you're going to get lit up. I don't care who you are. You could be the second coming of Bernie Perrons or Steve Vezina. So my thoughts.
Yeah, it makes a huge factor. Look at what happened with Vejmelka for Arizona the other night. I mean, he made the difference in that game. What did he have, like 45 saves in that game? It was absolutely ridiculous. Sometimes, every now and then, you're going to get a goalie that gets hot, but that can't be the case every single game. Let's move on. We've got the Nashville Predators and the St. Louis Blues, our next game we're going to discuss here. Look, everybody I know, including and me too, look, I was down on the Nashville Predators, and I think it was time for me to give them respect. Nashville's plus 110 on the road. St. Louis minus 130 at home. Total's at 6 here. And I'm not saying they're going to win this game. I don't think they'll win this game. But since we do this show every day, Carm, I think it's appropriate for me to admit I was wrong about the Nashville Predators. They're not a team that impressed me for that long. And yet, win after win after win, low-scoring win, high-scoring win, they were able to get it done, and their goaltending has been solid as well. So I was most certainly wrong about this Nashville Predators team. However, they are on a 2-game losing streak, and the St. Louis Blues, the team that you and I have both made some money on this season. What are your thoughts here in this one?
Yeah, I'm okay with the Preds being on a 2-game losing streak. I'm not okay with the Preds losing to the Buffalo Sabres. I'll tell you that much. They threw an absolute clunker in that game against the Sabres at home in Nashville. And I think they were like -3 or 350 in that game. I don't even remember what the odds were because I didn't bet them. But losing to the Boston Bruins, and that was a good game. They played well in that game. Is what I expect from the Nashville team as far as performing, and they're performing well. We're finally, after we spent way too much time talking about Montreal and Arizona, 2 horrible teams, to not talk about these 2 teams. You look at Nashville, 8-1-2 on the road, their last 11 games. That's a very good run. And then you look at the Blues, 12-2-1, their last 15 at home. The only meeting in St. Louis, 4-3 for the Preds in OT in that game, and that was back on the 11th of November. I'm still going to go back to this Blues team because, Andrew, a lot of the times I'll talk to you guys on the show about don't try and look for something that isn't there. The Blues are a very good home team. It's like fading the Dallas Stars on the road, who are like 4-14 now, I think, on the road. But at home, they're on an insane run. It's just teams play well until you see sort of the regression to the mean. You got to stay with it. You ride that streak. And in this case, I'm going to keep it short and to the point. I really like the Blues in this spot. You're laying a small price for a Blues team coming off a tough loss to the Toronto Maple Leafs, 6-5. They're the play here. I look for them to bounce back here. They've been very good at home, coming off a loss, and they're coming off a loss at home. You're laying a very short price with them. Take the Blues.
Yeah, in 3 straight games, giving up 4 goals for the Nashville Predators, something you can't do against the St. Louis Blues team, especially when the Blues are off a loss like they are. I expect a better defensive performance from the St. Louis Blues as well. And like you mentioned, this team at home is a whole different animal, so I look towards them as well. I think it's kind of a short price. But also one thing that we've always talked about on this show, and one thing that, since I started working with you, Carm, we discussed together, look, it's not always going to be a losing streak here, a winning streak here. There's going to be some win one, lose ones. But 2 straight losses for Nashville after, a handful of wins in a row. And then prior to that, there were like 1 or 2 losses, and then there was a handful of wins again. Is this a time where we see Nashville slip a little bit after I give them my apology and my little statement here? Or is this kind of just a good game for the St. Louis Blues here? Because Nashville, they had a little bit of an easier schedule at one point, and that helped them build up some wins. Now they're starting to play some tougher teams.
Yeah, well, this is the thing, right? It's looking at sort of that strength of schedule, how that streak was built. The problem I have here with this game, Andrew, is clearly this: 2 very good teams on very good runs. The Blues at home, Nashville on the road. If you want me to go against St. Louis at home in this spot, you've got to give me more than plus 105. That's all you're getting on Nashville is essentially even money to go into St. Louis and beat them. That's not good enough for me. Long term, I think that's a losing proposition, even though it is an even money bet. It gets back to that. If they played this game 10 times, how many would they win them? Would they win? And if you think the Preds win 5 of the 10 games, then you take the Preds at any plus money whatsoever. They've got to be plus money in all those bets. But if you think they're going to lose 6 of those 10, you're losing money in that spot. So it is not the way to go. I need more than plus 105 to sway me the other way. If you gave me the Preds, and I know that's not going to happen, but give me the Preds plus 140, plus 150 in St. Louis, anyone would take them. It's the right move to take, getting that kind of money with a team that's 8-1-2 their last 11 on the road. But you're not getting that here, so it's Blues for me.
Well, I think, Carm, the point that you're just making right there proves kind of what I was talking about, because we both can give respect to what Nashville has done. But do you think they can continue doing that the rest of the season? Do you think they finish the season where they are currently in the standings? And I'm going to guess by you not liking this wager at plus 105, the answer is no. Would you say it's no? Because I don't think they're going to be where they are right now.
Well, they're sitting 3rd right now, and they're tied, albeit 4 games in hand or 4 games more than Colorado has played. But there are a lot of teams behind the Preds who have 5 games in hand on the Preds, and this Western Conference is ultra competitive. It's the only problem I have, Andrew, is you look at let's say the teams 1 through 5. Take out the Preds for a second. You got Colorado, you have St. Louis, you have Vegas, you have Minnesota. We're giving those 4 teams playoff spots. We know we're giving those teams playoff spots. You have the LA Kings, who are now suddenly playing better. Anaheim, we knew they were going to regress. They were where Nashville is now. And we knew at some point sort of the regression to the mean was going to hit this team, and they're now losing games. It is the other teams that are surprising us. The Edmonton Oilers, who are an absolute free fall, sitting in 12th, 13 points behind Nashville. The Calgary Flames sitting in 9th, 11 points behind Nashville. These teams need to put the runs together that St. Louis and Nashville have in order to get back up there. But then you look at the other teams, and you've got like Anaheim, you've got Winnipeg. I don't know if these teams have it in them to put in a run. So at the end of the day, do I think Nashville drops from where they are right now? Yes, I do. But I think the futility of the other teams might have Nashville backing into the playoffs in that 7th and 8th spot, because the top 6 spots, I think, are a given to in each division and who those are going to be.
Right. Well, it's an absolute race right now. It's a really competitive Western Division, Western Conference, like you said. And I just love how it's January and we're already having this discussion. I like having these discussions throughout the year, kind of a quick little playoff picture check in, wild card check in, and just kind of see where these standings are. This is the time of year we start seeing things juggle around quite a bit. You find out who are the pretenders and who are the contenders. And I know it's only January, but this, if you remember, was when St. Louis, got going when they had that Stanley Cup run, when they were in the bottom seed pretty much at the start of the month, a couple years back. This is the kind of time of year we start seeing which teams are for real and which teams aren't. Speaking of teams being for real, how about the Pittsburgh Penguins and the Las Vegas Golden Knights? That is our next matchup we are going to discuss. This is a pick'em game here, -110 across the board. Total is at 6 in this one. Looking at the records of both these teams, Pittsburgh 22-10-5, Vegas 23-14-2. Pittsburgh, a team I've been high on. I told you guys I released them to win the Eastern Conference. Vegas has also done really well. They also have Jack Eichel on the ice skating already, Carm. And your Buffalo Sabres, let him walk. He's already skating, man. But hey, the Sabres did get some good picks and some good players in return. But this should be a really, really good game. Looking at Pittsburgh Penguins, what they've done recently, well, I'll say this. Before I throw it to you, Carm, I just want to say this. What my favorite thing about the Pittsburgh Penguins is they win low-scoring games and high-scoring games. They aren't a team like Colorado that has to score 4 goals to win a hockey game. Because that's what it seems like with a team like Colorado. The Pittsburgh Penguins are one of the only teams in the NHL that's at the top of their, standings that can score 2 goals and win a hockey game consistently, 2 or 3 goals. They do not need to score 5 or 6 goals on a nightly basis to beat their opponent. And when I look at the Vegas Golden Knights, the amount of overs they've been involved in this season, the amount of high-scoring games they've been involved in when they succeed, that worries me. Because if you take a look at the amount of games that have gone over the total when the Vegas Golden Knights have won, it's a really high percentage. And that's why I like the road team here with the Pittsburgh Penguins. I think defense wins games. And I think Pittsburgh's a team tonight to win this game, Carm.
Yeah, it's a tough one. I will a quick mention before I discuss this game, because it's a Vegas Golden Knights game, and Brian Leonard is a Vegas Golden Knights season ticket holder. He has a 5% play up. I don't know what game it's on. I'm just mentioning it because it's the Vegas Golden Knights playing tonight. He won his play on Friday, and he's 18-4 lifetime with his 5% plays over at WagerTalk. So that's up on $9 Mondays. You can grab that 5% NHL play from him. Yeah, Andrew, as far as this one goes, listen, the Pens are playing phenomenal defense. Like you said, they score when they need to score, but they're perfectly fine winning these 3-1 games. You look at over the last 20 games, 13 times they've kept the team to 2 goals or fewer in winning games. They're just playing lights out hockey. They're playing very good hockey. This is the Pittsburgh of old, albeit the Pittsburgh of old was Crosby and Malkin lighting it up for the Pens. This team is playing some very good defense right now, and that's scary come playoff time, because if you can play defense during the regular season, it bodes well for the playoffs. 12-3 run, 15-4-1 their last 20. Jari's playing; he's having a fantastic season. And then we talk about like the Golden Knights. I mentioned last week, this team isn't playing at home the way they normally play at home. I think they are 12-11 at home. That used to be a fortress. In teams went in and didn't leave with any points whatsoever. They're 2-4 in this 8-game homestand. At best, they're going to go 4-4, and I think at worst they're likely to go 2-6. They've lost 4 of the last 5. They're not playing well. I don't know what's wrong with this team. It's just they're just not playing well. I can't. The Pens are a low price. They're both a low price. This is a pick-em game, which is why I put this on here. I wanted to see what your opinion on it was, but I'm going to go with the Pens here. Until I see signs from the Vegas Golden Knights that they're turning it around, I'm just going to either pass on their games or I'm going to fade them.
Yeah, things aren't going well for them right now. And this isn't a spot where I want to look towards the home team. And you talk about it, the Fortress, the Vegas flu. This was an arena that everybody talked about was dangerous to go to. It was intimidating. Right now, it doesn't seem like it really is. And the thing is, you look at the Pittsburgh Penguins, the game they're coming off of is a game against these San Jose Sharks. That game reads 2-1, Carm, but I watched that game. I had a losing ticket on the over, actually, in that game, but there are plenty of chances to go around. We saw some great goaltending from both of those teams, but Pittsburgh, like I said, they managed to get that victory in low-scoring fashion. I wanted to mention, like you said, it's not just Crosby and Malkin scoring for the Pittsburgh Penguins. Obviously, with Malkin back, scored a goal in his first game back. Jake Gensel, they're trying to vote him in right now to the All-Star game, Carm. He has a point in 19 of his last 20 hockey games. 19 of his last 20 games. This guy is contributing. He's scoring goals. I mean, I always talk about depth being important and having a great supporting cast on your team. But when I can tell you a guy that's out there with Sidney Crosby has 19, as a point in 19 of his last 20 games, that's very impressive. And you're seeing these guys do it on a consistent basis. There are a lot of star players that just miss a couple games, but it seems like Gensel and some of these guys are not taking games off, and it's been huge for them. And also the back checking from this team. It's been great to see. They take care of things on both ends of the ice. But I guess the factor I'll say is this a big game more for Vegas or for Pittsburgh? Because you talk about the struggles for Vegas. You look at that loss to Chicago with Marc-Andre Fleury coming back. And then, okay, now we have to deal with Toronto coming to town. Toronto takes them down 4-3 in a game that they almost came back in but lost. We always say must win doesn't mean will win. Desperation doesn't mean success. But would you agree with me, Carm? This is definitely a big game for the Knights.
It is, Andrew. I don't believe in the sort of the must win, because at the end of the day, you still have to win the game. The other team, the other team is still putting out their lineup, whether it is in the NFL, the NHL. There's the players don't. It's not a half-assed effort, is what I'm trying to say. So yeah, I get the whole must win. Like the Vegas Golden Knights are going to be fine. Let's put it out there. They're dealing with injuries on the team. Martinez is going to come back soon. Pacioretty is still a little time away before he gets back. And we talked about Eichel on the ice, obviously in the red jersey, but he's looking forward to it. His last interview talked about he's coming along well and he's looking forward to playing. This team, when they're healthy, are going to be a scary good team, and probably the only ones who can knock off the Colorado Avalanche come playoff time. If Terry's in the chat, he's going to disagree with me with his Minnesota Wild. But with that said, the Vegas Golden Knights are going to be fine. Wait for these guys to come back. They'll start to string some wins together and get healthy at the right time. It's all about being healthy at the right time and making that run into the playoffs. Where you finish in the standings doesn't matter as long as you're in the playoffs. The Tampa Bay Lightning showed us that last year. 3 years back, winning the President's Trophy and then getting bounced by the Columbus Blue Jackets in the first round. And Cooper last year managed his team and the minutes on the ice. The year before that, they've won 2 Stanley Cups. They are a Stanley Cup contender again this year. It is getting on a run at the right time and positioning yourself come playoff time. And the Vegas Golden Knights will be fine. As far as must wins tonight, I don't see it. I think it's a game that they want to win. Whether they do win or not, we'll find out on tomorrow's show when we look at the results.
Yeah, I've always loved that phrase. Must win doesn't mean will win. And if desperate teams in desperate situations always won, then I guess handicapping would be pretty easy. It wouldn't be very hard if we just bet on the desperate teams, So as far as the total goes, any lean for you, Carm? I'm looking towards the under in this game, and money's pouring in on the over here.
Yeah, it's. I'm going to stay away with it. Just stay away from it. I did mention the Pens are playing well defensively, and like I said, 13 of the last 20 they've allowed 2 or fewer goals. But on occasion, in those other games, they needed to score 4 or 5 goals because they allowed 3 or 4 goals. So we could see some goals tonight. I won't know. I'll keep an eye on that total come game time, and it's probably be a good game to in-game bet. But for now, I'm going to stay off the total and then sort of reevaluate it later in the day. It looks like it's going to be Jari and Lehner. If there's money coming in on the total, then we you never know which goalie was off the ice first in the morning skate, which is usually a sign that's the starting goalie. Not a lot of starting goalies, even with the early start times, have been reported today. So it's something to keep an eye on.
Once again, guys, Brian Leonard has a 5% play up. He is red hot in the NHL. He has been red hot with his 5% plays since he started releasing them over at WagerTalk. He's off a fresh winner last week, 5% winner with the Minnesota Wild on Friday, and he has another one up for grabs, and it's $9 Monday. You can grab that for $9. You can grab any play at WagerTalk.com today for only $9. Plenty of action throughout the day across many different sports. We got basketball, hockey as well. So make sure you're heading over to the website nice and early in the day. Grab some plays, only $9. Also, NFL next week. Obviously, we've got so many games tonight as well. But when you buy these $9 plays, guys, you're not just buying picks for today. You could buy a pick that's for tomorrow or for Saturday or for Sunday. Any pick that is posted today doesn't have to be going on today. Any pick up at the website today is listed for just $9. Let's jump into some more NHL talk here with best bets at the end. Carm, before you give me your best bet, what's going on for you today at the website?
Yeah, a couple plays in afternoon actions. So nothing for tonight as of yet. But if you grab the two plays that are going on this afternoon, if I do have a third one for this evening, it'll just get added to that package, and you'll get a notification from me on Twitter that those plays have been added. An NFL play up for tonight. Playoffs, man. Who loves the playoffs? Yesterday, I'm Bills Mafia, so I'm ecstatic about the Bills win on the weekend, and looking forward to their game against KC. Also looking forward to the Green Bay Packers absolutely smashing San Francisco and their arrogant fans, those Niner fans. But going to our best bet, I'm going to go back to this St. Louis game, Andrew. I'm going to take the Blues, 12-2-1, the last 15 at home, playing extremely well. Coming off a loss, and you're only laying $1.25 with them. I'm going to take them to beat the Nashville Predators as your show best bet.
St. Louis Blues -125 from Mr. Bills Mafia himself. Carm, I would have thought that you guys won the big game, the whole entire championship yesterday or on Saturday by the time you guys were done celebrating. Bills Mafia was acting like it was a Super Bowl victory on Saturday.
Listen, I talked to our producer. The one thing about this past weekend, and I know it's a hockey show, but don't let this past weekend's results influence you on next weekend's bets, because there is some massive overreaction. The Bills did what they were supposed to do. They were supposed to beat the Patriots. They were a much better team, and they did it. KC was supposed to smash Pittsburgh and did it. You know what I mean? It's the overreaction that some people, they see the numbers come out and then they end up on the wrong side of those numbers. So don't overreact to next week's games based on last week's results. Wildcard games will do that to you. So sort of tread lightly, give it a couple days, let your head even out, and then get ready for another massive weekend of NFL football.
Yeah, it was definitely not a good weekend if you're an underdog bettor, that's for sure. For me, guys, look, we've got basketball plays going, we've got hockey plays going, and who doesn't love some afternoon hockey? I've got some action in the afternoon games. You guys just heard my opinions on some of these afternoon games, but you can get the client plays over at WagerTalk.com. Everything up for the website, like I said, at just $9. My best bet here on the show might surprise some of you guys. Detroit and Buffalo over 5.5. I'm going to follow that same strategy I've been rolling with, finding some of these lower tier teams matching up together. And usually when I see this happen, I see goals. Detroit actually beat Buffalo 4-0 just a couple days ago. And I think we'll see Buffalo give a better effort. I think we'll see Detroit continue to show the speed they have, the skill they have, and the young talent they have against some lower quality teams, just like Buffalo. With a 5.5 as our total, I expect some goals here over between Detroit and Buffalo. So to recap here, guys, Carmine looking at St. Louis on the money line, -125. And I have the Red Wings and the Sabres game going over 5.5 goals. We have Don Buster joining us tomorrow on the show on Tuesday's slate. As for now, thank you to Carmine for joining me. As always, I'm Andrew McInnis, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.
Why pay the regular price when you can save money on every purchase with WagerBucks at both WagerTalk and Sports Memo? WagerBucks are now eligible for use on not just daily, 3-day, and 7-day passes, but all long-term and seasonal packages up to 1 full year. There are tons of options available for every budget and size of bettor. From low as $100 gets $110, all the way up to $2,500 gets you $3,000. Save every day on every pick you buy with WagerBucks.